Hello everyone, it is Joe here from OmniPoke, the channel that brings you guys everything Pokemon, and today we are looking at another Mega Gardevoir EX deck, this time just focusing on the newer Steam Siege version with the lovely Despair Ray attack. This is a pretty interesting deck, and it's really focused on trying to take full advantage of Hoopa EX and Shaymin EX to draw lots of cards and get into our Mega line very consistently throughout the game, not just on turn 1. Because we have that Despair Ray attack, which is unlike pretty much any other attack that we've seen, I think, ever in Pokemon. I can't remember a card that has similar text to this guy, because we can just discard them. So they are no longer an issue in terms of Lysandre targets for easy prizes, or even stall options in regards to Hoopa. So really then we just cycle with things like Super Odds so that we can carry on putting Hoopas and Shaymins back into the deck so that we end-proof ourselves later on in the game. Very, very cool deck, and yeah, let's jump into the list right about now. So we have a 2-2 split of the Gardevoir, the lower form. I'm still a little on the fence with this. I do think this is the Steam Siege one. They both have the same HP, weakness, resistance, and retreat, so that's not really an issue. So it's literally just the attacks that we have to worry about. Link Blast is the more damaging. For one fairy, one colorless, we do 30 plus 70 if the opponent has the same amount of energy attached as we do. So against like stage 1s, like Zoroark, Raichu, Zebstrika, Vespiquen, all these types of Pokemon, if we can't find our Mega Evolution, Link Blast is actually a meaningful attack, and we can keep up in terms of tempo if need be, which is pretty cool. Whereas this Gardevoir, Life Leap is obviously doing way less damage, just 20, but it's a 1 energy attack cost. So there'll be those games when you're going second and you've attached to your active Gardevoir, and you can just get 20 damage in. And it's a small amount, but it can help out reach bigger numbers with Despair Ray so that we can actually get those big knockouts. So I think I'm leaning more towards playing this card more and more, but I think I would always play at least one of this Gardevoir just for the option of Link Blast, because we may as well, and we have Hoopa to search it out and stuff like that. So at the moment I'm sat on the fence as a 2-2 split, but I can see going to a 3-1 in favour of the Primal Clash version. And here is the Mega. Mega Gardevoir is blessed with its dual typing of being part Psychic, which means that we have pretty much a free win against Mewtwo. It is very favourable for us because we only need to commit 2 energy to get knockouts on Mewtwo's, whereas they need to commit much, much more every single time. So that's pretty good for us. The Fairy typing is great for us as well, because it means that we can one-hit KO Giratina EXs when we're using Hex Maniac, of course. So that's pretty handy to us as well. As well as that, we have the resistance to Dark, which again, Dark is a popular archetype. There's Dark Rhytina going around, there's Straight Dark, there's Fright Night Mew, Elixirs, stuff like that. There's all sorts of different variants going on right now. So having this resistance is a pretty big deal in my opinion. Biggest downside is its weakness to Metal. So as you can see, Scizor is going to be as close to an auto loss as you can get, pretty much. It's very, very painful for us. We can never really do enough in that matchup to do well. I know you would consider Shining Wind useful, but as a 3 energy cost, you can rarely ever get this going to the point where it's meaningful. Even if you do Shining Wind, you do 100, they hit you back for 100 or 110 or 20, then you hit them for 100 again. It's not enough. It's just not enough. It's simply not enough. So you're not going to win those games, basically, with this build that I'm showing you right now. We're just crossing our fingers that the Hyper Volcanion, and I do think it's justified hype, it's a very decent deck, that people are scared to play Scizor right now. So that's the mindset that we have. Just hope that no one plays Scizor, basically. So yeah, Despair Ray is the main attack. For a Fairy colorless, we do 110 base, and we can discard as many of your bench Pokemon as we like, and we do 10 damage for each bench we discard in that way. Very cool option. So with Skyfield, we can increase our damage by 70. If we 80. If we discard our full bench, but you're really not going to do that. You normally keep at least one backup Gardevoir on your bench. So you can get one-hit KOs if need be. Normally we look around the range of like 130-ish. We're normally discarding Hoopas and Shaymin from our own volition anyway, just to deny the opponent easy Lysandres or stall targets, stuff like that. So we're not a big one-hit KO deck, although this does have the potential to do that. Most games we're going to go for one big knockout, and the other times we're going to be Lysandering Shaymin, or we're going to be two-hit KOing big EXs most of the time. But bear in mind this can scale, so just keep it in mind basically. So to complement that, we want to have a fairly high amount of basic Pokemon, so that we can actually get value from the higher numbers that we could hit. So that means we're playing 2 Hoopa EX. It's amazing in this deck. Scoundrel Ring is obviously an incredible ability in any Mega deck, but because we can discard him, get Super Rod, play him again, or just have the 2 copies so we can Ultra Ball again, find him again, grab like our 3rd and 4th counts of the Gardevoirs, it means that we can carry on throughout the game very consistently with this deck. It's a big plus side for this deck that it is very, very consistent and has a lot of draw power. So 2 Hoopa is going to help us get there, in addition to the 4 Shaymin to just draw as many cards as possible. It's why this is a very high budget deck, because you're playing high counts of Hoopa, Shaymin, and a big old Mega line in there as well. So do bear that in mind. For the non-EXs, we are playing 2 Hawlucha. I do really love Hawlucha in here. That Sudden Cyclone ability, again, it's one of these cards that gets the effect when you put him onto the bench. So when you play him, you may have your opponent switch his or her active with one of his or her bench. So it's a one-sided escape rope just for them, and it's going to be handy in a number of situations. The first one, and the most important reason I'm playing a 2 count instead of just a 1, is because of Fright Knight. You can gust a Fright Knight out the way so that your Spirit Link works, you get your Mega Evolution going, and you're starting to pressurize. Obviously you're not dealing with the Fright Knight at that point, but it means that you've got Mega Evolved, and it's not an issue from then on, because any other snipe targets you're going to discard with Despair Ray, so it's really not a big deal for you. As long as you can keep getting into your Megas consistently, that's the biggest pain for us when Fright Knight's in the active, so we just want to Cyclone that out of the way. Additionally, these cards like Regice, we can gust that, Lysandre it, deal with it, that's pretty cool. And just in general, there'll be those times when your opponent has something in the active that you don't want to deal with, like non-EX Volcanion. You can just gust that so that you're starting to 2-hit KO like an actual Volcanion. So yeah, pretty good just to have that gusting approach. I really like being able to move things whenever possible to help us out for getting these 1-hit KOs. And then we just have the 3 Unown. This is really just to buff the damage that we have, but at the same time it can be once during a turn, draw a card when we bench it and discard it. Pretty simple stuff. It also means that Super Rod is more usable early on in the game, because we can, you know, instantly play these Unowns and get that Super Rod back to get more Unowns back in straight away. Pretty good stuff. Yeah, I think it's just a nice consistency booster overall that, again, increases your damage output potentially. So onto the items, we are playing 2 physical switch cards. I think with Hawlucha, we don't need to consider Escape Rope as realistic. And we don't really need Floatstone because, firstly, there's Fright Knight already, which can shut it off, and Giratina shuts off Floatstone, so that would be awkward. I'd rather just have physical switches, especially because Floatstone would basically only ever be a 1-turn use anyway, because we're going to be discarding things like Hoopa and Shaymin from our bench, and the only real Pokemon we'll have in play are going to be Gardevoirs, and they basically always need Spirit Link, so I think 2 switches correct. 3 Super Rod is a very high count, but I think it's pretty viable in here because it just means that we can recycle Shaymin and Hoopa after discarding them like turn 1, so we just fill up our whole deck of outs basically, so that when we are getting hit with N, it shouldn't be as painful for us. Additionally, it means we can keep cycling back Gardevoir, so that's never a problem. Yeah, just get everything back, basically. It means we can be a bit more aggressive with this deck, try and draw as much as possible, be super greedy with Shaymin, just put down 3 turn 1 because we can, and then we'll discard them all, Shaymin them back up, try and get that damage going all over again. We are playing 3 Mega Turbo as well. You can get some extra acceleration, much needed in this deck, so that we can power up these Gardevoirs a lot more consistently and start, you know, spending our manual attachment to the bench and stuff like that to have a backup plan later on. Then we have 4 Ultra Ball, gets immense value in here with Hoopa. You're going to be Hoopering multiple times, so just really good stuff, as well as being a searchable out to Hawlucha, very good. And we have 4 VS Seeker to respam our supporters. Some of the one-ofs we're playing. One Skyla. I keep putting Skyla as a one-of in my Mega decks because I think it's a great consistency card. It gets you Mega Turbo, it gets you Spirit Link, it gets you Switch as well, which is important. And of course, turn 1 it could be an out to Ultra Ball for Hoopa for the nuts, basically. Very good stuff. Do have one N, because we are playing such a high count of Hoopa and Shaymin. I think we get away with this lower count of N, but we still want the option to shuffle draw and disrupt the opponent pretty much. One Hex Maniac. This is pretty important for a couple of matchups. Things like Greninja, Volcanion, you kind of need these things. And of course you need one to get over Giratina EX. So that's why we're playing the one of Hex Maniac. Two Lysandre, again, this deck is very efficient at dealing with Hoopa EX because we have the Psychic typing, of course, the part Psychic typing, so that we can hit for weakness on good old Hoopas. We hit 110, which is great for the baseline of Shaymin, and we just want to keep getting into EXs, basically. And then for Professor Sycamore as well, the big old king of consistency himself, discard is great in this deck because you have the recycle of Super Rod that it's basically never painful. The only times when it's annoying is if it's Mega Turbos or Skyfields or Spirit Links that you have to discard. Those are really the only times. We are playing 3 Skyfields. I think you could get away with just playing like 1 or 2 of these. I think 2 is probably the lowest actually, because a lot of the time I don't find myself trying to commit the full bench and going for a one-hit KO. It's very few niche circumstances, and even if it is, it's going to be like a once per game thing, because even with the amount of Super Rod we have, the recharge time is kind of awkward. So I think Skyfield is important as a free count, mainly just to bounce other people's stadiums. Like Parallel is big right now. There's things like Faded Town, which is really awkward. Silent Lab would be horrendous for this deck because we're super reliant on Hoopa Shaymin. So we want to have a high enough count just to see access to it. But in terms of actually needing the full 8 bench size, it's not too often for us. So keep that in mind. Then we are playing 4 Gardevoir Spirit Link. I think it's just super consistent to play the 4 count. Pretty good stuff. You just want to find them, insta-play them, so that we can continually get Despair Ray going. It is the whole point of the deck, basically. And finishing off with just 10 Fairy Energy. It's a very consistent, simple count. It's kind of painful when you miss attachments with this deck, so you just want to keep up and always have good outs for it. So let's look at some other options for the deck. The first one is staring right at us. It's going to be Absol with that lovely Cursed Eyes ability. Because this deck is quite often going for 2-hit KOs, you can do the 110, place 3 counters with Absol just anywhere else onto something that you're going to try and set up later on. So you go for that easy 2-hit, then the thing that's got 3 damage on is now, 3 less Pokemon needed to scale up for the Despair Ray for the knockout. So it can help us get that big 1-turn KO on something just by placing a few counters here and there. Of course, just a one-off would be fine in this deck. I think at the moment I'm happy with 2 Hawlucha because I'm just loving Sudden Cyclone, but I can easily see a 1-1 split of these cards, or even cutting 1 Unknown to make the space for Absol, because this can really help out dealing with a big threat after you've sort of gone for a slower 2-hit KO approach on something else, and there's just spare damage just being wasted, basically. Another Pokemon you can consider is Mr. Mime. I've already mentioned how Fright Night is a pain, even with Hawlucha. So if you're really struggling with it, you can just play Mime. Very good card, obviously, for denying that damage. And you feel super safe as soon as Mime is set up, pretty much. Then we have Olympia, which we could... What have I done there? Olympia can just be a good switching card. At the moment, I'm content with Skyla. With Skyla and discard pile, as long as we've not used both our switches, we can move whatever's in the active. Bear in mind, we will get rid of our chunky, annoying retreaters with Despair Ray, so it's not a big issue. And also there's going to be Giovanni. Like I was saying with the Absol, it's going to help us just scale that little bit higher to try and sometimes get that 1-hit KO that we look for. Giovanni's scheme could be a very good 1 slot in here, in my opinion. And finally, there's a couple of cards like... Oops, what have I done there? Acrobike is going to be one, because, like I was saying with Sycamore, there's only a couple of things you would be annoyed about discarding. Only really Mega Turbo and Spirit Link, and because we're playing a 4 count of Spirit Link, even that to some extent is fine. So Acrobike normally is going to be a nice bit of aggressive draw if you want it. For now I'm playing Unknowns, like I'm saying, simply to have a higher Pokemon count for Despair Ray, basically. But if you find space for Acro, that could be fine. Additionally, it's one of the only decks I'm playing right now without any Trainer's Mail. And it feels wrong, but it works. But yeah, Trainer's Mail is an option for you as well. So let's jump into a few games now, and hopefully they are going to be very entertaining and show off the deck. Obviously, we're very scared of Scizor, but beyond that, we're fairly okay against most things. One-hit KO decks can be awkward, like Rayquaza and Rainbow Road. Some consideration may be about putting one parallel into your own deck, just to try and deny the opponent, but for now I'm fairly content to not. We're up against Ginger Ninja. It's me versus me, and he is calling the coin. We win the flip, so we will decide to go first. And hopefully, well, this looks like a pretty ideal start. We have the attachment, the Spirit Link, the Ultra Ball for Hoopa. This all looks pretty good. We should be in pretty good shape here. Other issues, obviously ability lock is a pain, because you are very reliant on Hoopa and Shaymin to get going and continue on with the game, really. The opponent starting Hoopa is great for us because we can threaten a one-hit KO next turn on that thing. So we're going to discard one Shaymin because we have enough in the deck anyway, and we'll just go for the classic bunch of Pokemon with Hoopa. Just going to scout the deck a little bit more and see what else is in here. We have got our Hex, that's pretty cool. And we'll just grab all these things. We have pretty much everything we need this turn. Don't feel like I'll be playing the Sycamore too much. Depends what we get off this Shaymin. I'm content to bench everything. Because it's a Hoopa, it's likely a Mega deck, which means I'm fairly safe to attach to the active right now. Skyfield as well. We've discarded one already and we've played one, but I think it's fine. And we'll set up here, looking really just for more Spirit Links more than anything else. We do find one. We find a Mega Turbo, but we haven't discarded any energy yet. So I'm pretty content to pass here and see what the opponent's got. Let's see what this Ginger Ninja's saying right now. Water Energy. Glalie. Wow. He could well be playing Ninja Boy if he's doing these sorts of things. Energy Spirit Link. Oh, we're going to see the turn one Ninja Boy. There's Ultra Ball. So Glalie's actually pretty awkward for us because we're not going to be doing 220, which means we play into Cryomouth quite nicely. But he plays Hoopa and Shaymin, so we can have our Lysandre targets right then and there. The opponent is playing Regice as well. Goes to search that out. Thankfully, we have got one Hawlucha in deck, so we should be able to get around it fairly contently. And the opponent's just going to pass. We can dig for the knockout, I guess. We'll just get the attachment in to be safe, and I'll Sycamore this away. And we do hit the Mega, which is nice. We hit Spirit Link. Unknown can go down. I think all of this can go down. The only thing I'm playing around now is Delinquent. I think that's fine, because that's one of the only things that could ruin us right now, to be honest. We're in a very commanding spot. Don't need to discard anything, I don't think. Damage-wise, I don't think it matters if we do discard just the Hoopa, so that we don't have Lysandre pains. But we are holding Skyla, I guess. Yeah, we'll just get rid of Hoopa. I think it's fine. And there's our other Hawlucha, which is perfect timing, really. We haven't found Lysandre just yet, but we could even Hawlucha into Ultra Ball Hawlucha. That would be hilarious to do. I'm going to try and go for it. No, you know me, guys. I'm just going to go for it. It's an attachment to Regice. Shaymin in the active. Maybe has a very dead hand here. Yes, indeed. So, we had the double Hawlucha. That is brilliant. We don't even care. Do I start playing things like Skyla or just keep these for end proofing? I think we'll just keep them for end proofing. Despair Ray, get rid of Shaymin. To hit that lovely 120. Get out our last Skyfield. The opponent is left with just Shaymin, pretty much on one top deck now. And yeah, Hawlucha justifies its slot, even though we weren't hit with a Resistance Blizzard. Just shows that Gusting is still pretty good. There we go. So, one pretty easy win in the bag. Ignore the fact that it was Glalie and just think that it was a normal Mega deck, and that looked pretty good. So, we have another game, this time against Josie0001. They are looking to call the coin, and we lose the flip, so they get to choose. And they are going to go first, believe it or not. We have a lovely hand as long as we're not getting hexed. The double switch is slightly irritating, but otherwise this is pretty much a dream hand. And we see a Remoraid. This could only be, well, Remoraid is played in a few different decks. See a Bursting Balloon turn 1. Looks like we're not going for the old Life Leap this game. And a Sika. Ooh, okay, Garchomp. Garchomp could be very awkward. We do have Hawlucha to get around Bursting Balloons, but Garchomp can get one-hit KOs now and again. So, we got to be on our toes here. And just kind of play smart, basically. What stadium are they going to be playing? Because if it's Faded Town, I'm pretty sad. We'll start off with this. And we've got ourselves Hoopa. Feels good. So again, the textbook double Gardevoir plus Shaymin. I think I will be playing Skyfield here, just because we need to hit energy quite badly. Not going to play the switch though, I think that's a little bit too much. We haven't played a supporter yet, so we have plenty of outs. Going to Spirit Link the active because I'm not too threatened. Garchomp next turn can do like 80 with a strong. So I'm not too threatened by that. We get an attachment. No other supporters. Don't feel like it's worth hexing because already has a large hand size, so Octillery is not going to be ridiculous value. I'd rather keep the VS Seeker around for a rainy day. Obviously not going to Life Leap, so we'll pass. There is good old Garchomp. Refresh your memories. Assault, Turbo Assault, very, very good attack, as is Bite Off, that free retreat. So many reasons why Garchomp is a cool card. One that we're going to profile fairly soon. The opponent goes for an Ultra Ball, finds themselves a Gibble. So either they have the Candy Chomp in hand, or they don't have it at all. There's just a Gabite. And a Floatstone to the active. Does he have Octillery? Does she have Octillery? Or just a big old supporter? There's VS Seeker for N. And I'll appreciate that. Ooh, Hawlucha's nice. Potentially. There's the attachment to Gabite. They've actually gone into Gabite, that's very interesting. They're bursting a balloon up, so they're setting up the Garchomp, right? But a 3-card hand, so risky. Okay, so we're down to 40, right? So 40 is pretty much the same as like 100 now. Yeah, so I am going to attack through this bursting balloon. I think it's absolutely fine to attack through this balloon here. I'm going to play Hawlucha just to play him. I think I do want to go for 2 Guardies here. We have Super Rods to get back if I have to discard it, so don't think it's an issue at all. I'd quite like a Hex here, a means of hexing, but doesn't look like it, so we'll just grab the Spirit Link with Skyla. Seems fine to me. We have the Mega Turbo ready to go as well. And we want to be mindful about the HP of Garchomp. They have 130, right? So do I discard any here? I think I do. I think I just discard both Hoopas. So the opponent promotes Remoraid. Let's see what they have. In that cheeky little 4-card hand of theirs, do they have the Seek of a Teammates or something like that? Do they have the Octillery ready to go? We'll find out. By attacking into the balloon, it means that they have to find the Candy Chomp rather than just Garchomp. There is the Seek of a Teammates, so we are going to see probably a Garchomp come out. They can do 80 with Turbo Assault, so they probably need to find another Bursting Balloon. Already gone through 2 so far. 60 plus Balloon is good numbers for the Guardy, of course. Something we're not playing is Pokemon Center Lady, which could have been nice. The opponent goes for Super Rod. Going to put back a few of their Pokemons, leave both Gabites in the discard, so they have to. They're going to be very reliant on rare candy. The Escape Rope is great for us. That's really good for us. There's a level ball for Octillery. Here is Octillery. This is going to be Candy Garchomp, draw 5. No, it's going to be an Abyssal Hand for 3. We had to promote this guy because, well, I'm not really threatened damage-wise. There's a Silent Lab, interesting. There's an attachment to Gibble. And there's never enough just to draw a couple of cards. Don't feel that that was the best teammates they could have done. I think there's probably better options there. But who am I to question? Let's just Despair Ray. And keep everything. Want to keep stuff around for Garchomp if it comes out. Here comes Octillery. There's another Remoraid. There's another Gibble. And Eco Arm for a couple of Bursting Balloon. That's nice. And we get hit with an N. It's not bad at all. Another Gibble. Another Floatstone. Trainer's Mail. All sorts being played by the opponent. One concern is that we really haven't gone through much of the deck just yet. So these sorts of ends could start becoming a bit more painful. There's a strong to Gibble and just an Abyssal Hand for 2. They've got to start hitting some candy chomps pretty soon, and balloons really. Got to put a bit more pressure on. But bear in mind, we have to go through 6 physical prizes this game, so there's still plenty of time for them to come back. There's the retreat. And just a never enough again. I'm not sure if the retreat's best there. I think I probably would have just promoted Remoraid, forced me to have stuff like Lysandre. But hey, we'll just keep playing the cards that we can. We are wrecked by Delinquent, but I'm not too worried. Actually, we're not, because we're taking a prize here. And this is exactly the Pokemon I want to knock out, because it has the energy on. So it's the only thing that can really threaten us, damage-wise, for now at least. So, we've gone up 3 prizes. Bear in mind, this Gardevoir is quite damaged, so it's not ridiculous to think that they can come back from this spot. But they're in definitely a bit of an issue. Here is the Candy Chomp. We see a strong energy. Is that their 3rd or 4th? It's their 3rd. An Abyssal Hand for just the 1. Bursting Bloom would be really awkward for us. Let's have a look. Sycamore from the prizes is great as well. See a VS Seeker for Lysandre. Lysandre's going to be played onto our other Gardevoir. We do see Garchomp come up into the active and Turbo Assault for 80. Attaching most likely to the Gibble. Yeah. So we draw Mega Turbo, which is far from ideal. This is the point of the game where I didn't do my counts. VS Seeker for Switch is clearly the right play, as long as it's in here. Moment of truth. Always check your deck, guys. It is in here, never punished. But for the purposes of the video, I never do. Because I want to have a lively pace of play. We'll go back into the healthy Gardevoir. And we shall yeah. Despair. I'm going to get rid of all of these targets now, just because I know that they're going to think about Lysandre's. So we'll just discard all 3 of these. An over KO of 10, but I can live with that. There's an attachment to Gibble, so we could well be seeing a big old Garchomp in a moment. There's the N for a fresh hand. 2 ability Pokemon with Silent Lab in play. That's a problem. Silent Lab is definitely a problem for this deck. Very reliant on Hoopa Shaymin for cards. They've only played 1 candy so far, but doesn't look apparent that they've hit it. Here's an Abyssal Hand. Does have 1 more attempt. There is candy. Very nice. The dream. that one Abyssal Hand draw. And the opponent is straight back in this game, to be honest. Big old 180. Ultra Ball is not helpful enough. I think I have to play both these cards down just to discard them. We're getting rid of both Pokemon here with this knockout, but they have no follow-up in terms of damage, so I'm content with that. Puts us down to Prize-Osh. Considering discarding this Gardevoir over the Unown here, I don't think I like it. So there's the big 130, there's the bursting balloon. Interesting ordering that he took the prizes before me. Sorry. There's a second Super Rod. Need to recover a lot of chompy pieces, it looks like. All 4 Gibble in the discard pile. Gibble Garchomp is my prediction. Just the one Gibble. One Gibble, gonna see them through 4 more prizes, I guess. Fair enough. See VS-Seeker for N. Don't really see a foreseeable way for them to deny a prize this turn. There's Trainer's Mail. And that's probably all she wrote. Yes, indeed. Pretty nice. We're never in too big of a threat there. Silent Lab is kind of awkward though. So we'll get one more game in before I head on off. We get a cheeky little chest. You can actually get a full RN this ladder, so that would be pretty good to go for if you're someone who plays a lot of PTCGO. I always seem to scrape the bottom of the barrel. Looks like we're up against... I did see metal in the opening slide, so this could be pretty grim for us. I don't really know a great win condition against that deck. It's normally like against Scizor, like you have to go first and Hex, hope they have nothing, get the initial attack in. But even then, like, super awkward. Well, we've gone first, so there's that. Let's see if we can wreck Scizor. If of course it is indeed Scizor. Could be something else entirely. Ah. Nope, it's Scizor. Oh dear. That's a problem when you want to play Gardevoir. Alternatives is just to try and race as best you can. But it doesn't usually end well. So we'll play out most of our hand here, keep the switch just to be safe. Ah, turn 1 Hex has arrived. Very nice. I think now I get rid of switch. Alternative is to get rid of the energy, of course. Could just get rid of both and then rely on VS-Seeker, but yeah, that's fine too. There's not actually too many things that I want to draw here, so I'm just going to grab one Guardi, one Mega to guarantee it next turn. And we'll just draw 2 here. Unown is fine, N is great for next turn. Pretty good 2 cards. And now we just hex and pray, basically. That's the idea, lads. And lasses, of course. Let's see if Hex is enough to beat Scizor. There's an attachment. And a Spirit Link. Crushing Hammer. Oh, it does get ahead, so now we have to dig for Mega Turbo as well. Just a Steel Wing. Cool. So he's actually resisting like 40 because of Steel Wing plus resistance, so we have to bear that in mind. But we'll dig as hard as we can. Yes, we do get Mega Turbo, which is great. Do I want to keep digging? Don't think so. Gonna put Hawlucha down just for damage. 1, 2, 3, 4. Gets us to the 110, so next turn we just need to hit 130. And again we pray. Basically, because we don't have much else going on right now. There's a Crushing, does get a Tails, so that indicates that he probably doesn't have the 1-hit KO, or he has like Sycamore, but just a Steel Wing. Wow. Praying, guys. That's a thing. It's a thing. Hitting that Ultra Ball, oh sorry, hitting the Spirit Link is a huge top deck as well. Oh man, I would have loved to get our second Hoopa, but I guess we just got a Shaymin. Let's draw some cards. And a Spirit Link. Unown. I think I want a Spirit Link and Unown. Let's keep digging. Sycamore's pretty good, but I prefer the Mega, to be honest. One more chance. Super Rod's pretty good. Let's get all the consistency cards back in. How many Mega Turbos have we been through? We've already been through 1. I'm not that content to burn my second one. But we're pretty ahead, right? Fine. Well. Despair Ray. 110 down to 70 is still enough. And we pluck our other Hoopa out. Just a Cobalion in the active. This is why I'm against the Crushing Hammer builds, because it's 4 consistency cards you've taken out just for hammers. Finally, the opponent has Ultra Ball. But at this stage, we can do a race, because he probably has to go for Hoopa here, right? So he's going Hoopa plus Shaymin. And that probably... Oh, just a Shaymin. Okay. That's even worse for him. Is he prized Hoopa? Maybe. Floatstone to Cobalion. Shaymin for 6. Or maybe he's conscious that if he gives me Shaymin and Hoopa, I just win the Lysandre race. The opponent has Ultra Ball again. Gets rid of Delinquent and Rope. There is Scizor. There's an Energy. And another Shaymin. So the Lysandre approach is back on for us. Thumbs up for that. Spirit Link to Scizor. Puzzle of Time. Oh, Crushing Hammer is going to be so annoying if he starts hitting heads on these. Did you just play single puzzle? Okay. That's less scary. And a pass. So we're just going to grab both Mega Gardies here so that we're end-proofing ourselves as best as possible. Look at our hand right now. Like, he has to end this for sure. Look how good this hand is. Is it better to VS Seeker or actually just play Lysandre here? Doesn't matter. Okie doke. Look how thin our deck is, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 out of the 8 are good top decks, and there's 11 cards in decks, so of which there are still good top decks. So I'm feeling pretty confident here that even under an N we could be fine. I'm most worried about the prize cards that we take because those are dead cards now. So if he gets Scizor and N, we could be in trouble, but we could be fine as long as we get some of our good cards. We're going to see the Mega, the Super Rod, and just Iron Crusher. So no N means we win. And we beat a Scizor. But don't expect that to happen too often. Trust me, guys. That is not the way this is supposed to play out. We went first, we got the Hex. It slowed him down enough that we could just race, but that should not be happening too often. That should be a heavily unfavorable matchup. But yeah, if you are going to try and win, that's the route you go for. Huzzah! We beat a Scizor. We're unstoppable. Victory! So, there we go. We overcame everything in our path. Very nice. Let me know what you guys think about the deck. And anything else. I know this archetype gets way cooler when Evolutions comes out because we gain Rattata and we also gain Dragonite EX, both great improvements and inclusions that will definitely come into this deck for sure. Because basically the Super Rods get subbed out for Dragonites, right? So it's more Pokemon for Despair Ray, so that is going to be cool. And Rattata is also great for getting rid of other people's tools that we can spam. So it's probably all going to be looking good for the future of Mega Gardevoir. As long as you can stay away from Scizors, you should be pretty good. So that's all for now, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Leave a like if you did to this video. Get involved in the discussion down below. But for now, it has been Joe from OmniPoke, and I will see you guys next time.